Hello, and welcome back to Song Surveys on Sofas with Superheroes, the sub-series. So this week, I was actually really a little bit sad. I was listening to all the new songs that had come out and was trying to make my decision about which one to pick. And so I was really liking a lot of the stuff on the Bad Wolves album. And so I was excited, and I had narrowed it down to 3 different songs, 2 from the Bad Wolves album, 1 from this other one. And then I realized that both Bad Wolf songs were previously released as singles leading up to this album, so I couldn't do either of them, so I was a little bit bummed. But I am excited about the song that I chose, and I'm especially excited because the first song that became really popular from this band, I loved. I thought it was fantastic. I was really looking forward to listening to like all their music and just falling in love with it. But of course, that one song they released seemed to be an outlier. There were maybe 1 or 2 songs off the next couple albums that sounded like that one song, and then it just like fell apart, and all the other songs were so slow and they all kind of just sounded the same from start to finish, and there was nothing super unique or pulling about them. So I was really not expecting to be blown away by this song and like it as much as I did. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it and share it with you guys because I think it's really good. And I'm hoping maybe their new album will kind of more resemble this song in particular as opposed to their older stuff. So let's get into it. The song is Frail State of Mind by the 1975. And again, really liked Chocolate, thought that was a fantastic song, really liked how different it sounded, and was kind of expecting similar things to come out of their next couple songs. And again, 1 or 2 had that sound, but then a lot of them were just not. And I know that sound has made them huge and really big, but I just think it's very interesting that this song in particular was different from their slower stuff, and that's why I liked it. And it was like in my top 3 this week, so I was really excited that I could like their song enough to want to talk about it. And I'm really hopeful that their next album will sound more like this and less like that slow stuff that I'm not really a huge fan of personally. So anyway, let's get into the song. So it starts with like, you can barely hear the sound, and the volume definitely builds, and there are definitely more notes as it builds again. And so, but there are also like these like background noises and like little pieces and parts that you don't necessarily pay attention to as significant in a way, but they're definitely there. And so I think that was definitely interesting. And this lasts for about 15 seconds. And then there's like this drop and this huge shift where the percussion comes in more full and the sound comes in a little bit more full as well. And then the title of the song, which is Frail State of Mind, is saying almost like in the background, right? So you can hear that there's words being sang, but you don't really necessarily know what they are unless you know what they are, sort of a thing. And so that's repeated twice before the first verse. So there's no music change from the first verse to the repetition of Frail State of Mind. And I really like the first 2 lines. Go outside seems unlikely. I just really like the question and answer form in the first 2 lines. And I also love the word choice and the simplicity. So I love the word choice of seems unlikely. They could have said probably not. They could have said something else, but for some reason seems unlikely was a good choice. And again, it kind of gives some room for, I mean, it's possible, but it just doesn't really seem like it's going to happen. So I think that word choice was really great. And I also really, really love the simplicity of just the question, go outside? Yeah, that's not going to happen. They didn't need more explanation. You're able to piece it together and figure out what's going on right away. So I like that they kept it simple, and I think that really worked for them. Just in those first 2 lines, it was a really good choice. So then he talks about not picking up the phone, even though he's staring at it because he doesn't. And so he's staring at it as it rings, but he doesn't pick it up because don't waste their time. So that's like in quotations would be like a voice in his head, like he's saying that to himself, like, don't waste their time. And so I kind of really like the potential for why you would say that. So there are 2 main reasons why somebody would call you, right? They're either asking you to do something or they're just want to chat and talk. So I like the idea that, he's already like, listen, this person's calling me because they're going to invite me to do something. I don't want to go. So rather than have to do idle chit chat, you're going to tell me what it is. I'm going to make an excuse and then we're going to say goodbye. Next time, okay, great, bye. So like that's like a waste of time. But then also like the other way of looking at it is if this person was probably calling to have a conversation, like this is where the whole like devaluing of the singer comes in, right? So he feels like he's not worthy of this person's time and energy. Like, oh, you know what, my problems, I don't want to waste your time. And based on the rest of the song, I feel like the latter is probably more accurate than the former. But then actually, no, not really. I mean, the former could still work too. So I kind of like that it's almost like dual purpose, right? So you can think of it in terms of, oh, well, this person's not going to come anyway, so there's no point. Or, you know what, it's okay. Like, I don't want to waste your time with how I'm feeling and like all this serious stuff, and don't worry about it. I won't waste your time. So definitely like the devaluing of the singer's importance is felt in that line. So I do like that line. I think in particular was again an interesting line, and definitely the whole song is pretty great when it comes to the meaning of the lyrics. I really like that in particular. Anyway, so the last line of the pre-chorus is, I've always got a frail state of mind. And so this line, frail state of mind, is always repeated at the end of pretty much any verse, any chorus, and even the bridge, the first half of the bridge and the second half of the bridge. So yeah, this line gets used a lot. And what I love about this line in particular throughout the song is pretty much every time except for one, it changes. The first half of that statement is changed. And then the second half of the statement, frail state of mind, is saying in that background. So you don't actually get like a full last line of any verse, of any chorus, or of the bridge, because that line, which is the song title, frail state of mind, is kind of, again, saying in that background with that filter on top of it. So yeah, definitely really like that choice. So yeah, definitely awesome. And then it goes right into the chorus. And so there's no change in the music from the verse to the chorus, but I really do love the line, I always get this way sometimes. And so I really love the contradiction of always and sometimes. And so I feel like when you say that, like, oh no, like I'm always like this, like that's kind of like your excuse. Oh, it's always like this. But then like you add in that sometimes at the end. So it's almost like you're either like almost like you're trying to defend yourself. Like, I'm always like this sometimes, always like this sometimes. I don't know. Or like maybe it's like a denial thing, or maybe it's like a hopeful thing, right? Like, I'm always like this sometimes. So I don't know. I kind of like that. I'm not really sure where it goes. I mean, what do you think? Is that something that you like definitely know what it meant? I mean, I feel like it's kind of open. Is it a sign of hope? Sometimes I'm always like this. Is it a sign of just like using it as an excuse and then kind of like, oh, like sometimes like you might be able to catch me one day, like almost as if like you're trying to make it like not seem as terrible as it really is. Like, I'm always like this. Sometimes I'm always like this. So I don't know. I think that's an interesting line and I really liked it. And then again, so this chorus ends with, I'm sorry about my frail state of mind. And it's the same thing, right? So you get the I'm sorry about my saying in this full sounding voice, and then you get the frail state of mind kind of not in that full sound. So I like that, and I think it definitely makes it interesting. So I already talked about how I like how the first part changes and then the second part isn't necessarily saying. So there's a shift in music, and there's like a couple seconds of music where it transitions into the second verse, and there's at least one repetition of the song title in the background before the verse begins, and it's like right before the verse begins. So again, there's a lot of stuff in general going on, and even like in the choruses they repeat certain words at certain times, and even in the verses. So they especially like, I want to say it's like the last word of the third line in each verse or chorus is repeated after it's sang. And so I just like love, like there's so much in the music of this song. Again, you get those little sounds at the beginning, and then you get certain repetitions, and the fact that, you know, the main line of the song isn't even sang in full until the very end, like towards the end. Like, it's just really interesting background stuff going on, and I am genuinely looking forward to listening to the song over and over again just to kind of discover all these new things. So yeah, I really like that. And so even in that transition you get some of these little subtle sounds and stuff like that, so I really like that. So the verse starts with him being asked to stay at someone else's house. They're saying like, oh, well, why don't you stay? Maybe you'll be less miserable. And so I really love his response. Nah, I'm all right. Nah, trust, I'm fine. And then after that, the line is just dealing with a frail state of mind. So I really, really like that. Obviously, this person is probably not fine. And so, no, just trust that I'm fine. I'm just dealing with I'm just dealing with it. So I really like that those lines are connected to each other. And I think that was a really good word choice. And I really like that. And again, that whole background noise, the first part is saying just dealing with A, and then frail state of mind gets kind of, backgroundy and filtered. And so I really like that as well. And yeah, so I also love that it's like totally different. Sorry. So anyway, yeah, I think it's cool that they just, yeah, like, no, I'm fine. I got this. And I'm just dealing with it. And so that's how this person is dealing with it. They just like don't do anything. They don't want to be social. And that's like their way of dealing with it, which I think is also interesting, especially because, this person is maybe unable to understand that, but then also potentially doesn't think that that's the best way to deal with it. So I don't know. You definitely start to kind of, and it will come back towards the end when we talk about the bridge, but yeah. So anyway, so then I really like, so when you go back into the chorus, a lot of it is changed lyrically, and I really like that choice. Again, I love when repetition is slightly altered. So again, this whole line with the frail state of mind is changed every time it's saying, except for at the end of this chorus. But yeah, so in the first chorus, the first line ends with the word cry. In the second chorus, the first line ends with the word shy. And then in the first chorus, they talk about the singer leaving to save the person time, like, oh, I'll leave to save you time. And then in the second chorus, they talk about the group leaving and him just like staying here. So I'm assuming like they were all hanging out and they're like, hey, we're going to go out. Like, let's go. And he's like, you guys go, I'll just stay. So I do like that there's that difference. Like, oh, I'll leave because you clearly like don't, like, I'm just wasting your time. And then you guys can go without me, I'm fine. So I like that there's that difference. And again, not a repetition of the chorus straight up. So I really like that. But both choruses do end with that same last line, right? So the first half of that is still the same. And then again, it goes into that frail state of mind. So that's the one time it doesn't change. So the music drops after the second chorus. And again, you get that change with the noises in the background, and something to definitely kind of pay attention to every time you listen to it, hear different things and kind of like, oh, that's different, or ooh, that was from the beginning. So I really like those subtleties. And so yeah, I really like that they put that in there between the chorus and the bridge. And they repeat fragile state of mind in the background a few times. And again, you just like kind of are listening for these sounds and these words. And then the music gets really electronic sounding, and it becomes really full version of the verse and chorus music, and it goes into the bridge. So again, I really like the subtle changes in music, and then you get this full sound that goes into the bridge, which sounds very similar to the verses and the chorus, but kind of isn't. So I love the first two lines. Oh, what's that? What's the vibe? I wouldn't know. I'm normally in bed at this time. That is totally me. People are like, oh, have you ever been to this like bar? It's so fun. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm asleep by like 10 o'clock. So yeah, so I like that this person is like, yeah, like, no, I get it. I'm super lame. So I thought that was a good, oh, what's the vibe? I wouldn't know. I'm usually in bed at this time. So I like that. And I thought the word choice was good. So yeah, so then the next part talks about how the singer usually leaves by 9, which again, I can totally relate to. I will show up, but I will also be the first person to leave. So I feel like the singer and I have a lot in common when it comes to being lame like that. So yeah. Anyway, so then I love this because so the first half is don't want to bore you with my fragile state of mind. And so this is like the first time that you actually hear fragile state of mind saying not in the background and not with that filter necessarily. So I really, again, love when the repetition is not the same. So I like that after like 3 or 4 times, you finally get to kind of hear that line sing. And I think it's also interesting that it was in the bridge, and in particular that it was after this section, when they kind of start talking about how like normally I'm in bed, like I don't know really what you're talking about. And yeah, so I definitely think it's interesting, because then what comes next is you kind of get this conversational vibe that these people have convinced the singer to kind of go out and be social. And so I really, really like that in the beginning you're kind of kept away from the line fragile state of mind, and now that we're in like the middle of it and we're maybe out with these people, you suddenly get the actual line. So I think that that's a really cool idea and concept, and I wonder how intentional that was, like in terms of the story part of it. I mean, obviously it was intentional, right? To decide to actually say the line here and not just have it in the background. And so, but I wonder in terms of the story, how intentional that was. And so if you know, please let me know, because I would love to know that. I really am genuinely interested for this song about that. So yeah, so anyway, you get this like conversational feel in the second part of the bridge. So the person who is talking to the singer is saying like, listen, I know you're lying when you tell me that you're fine, so you need to stop lying. And then his response to that is, I haven't told a lie in quite some time. And so I'm interested to know if the singer genuinely believes that he's not lying and that he's fine, or if it is just part of the lie. So yeah, so again, I think that that's super, and it, like, makes it just this interesting little part of that song. So does he know that he's lying, or does he genuinely, has he convinced himself that he's fine, even though potentially he's not? And so, yeah, so then the other person after another line responds with, don't lie behind your fragile state of mind. And so I think that that's definitely like an interesting and complicated message. Just in terms of if someone were to say that to me, I was feeling like the singer was feeling, I feel like I'd be like, you have no idea what's going on. You have no right to tell me that. I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. But then also, like, could it be an encouraging thing? Like, where you're like, oh, you're right. Like, I'm being ridiculous. But I don't know. Like, I feel like you wouldn't feel like you're being ridiculous and the other person is being pushy. So I don't know. I just think that's like an interesting line that you can see from kind of both sides, right? Like, this person is almost like fed up. Like, just stop lying and hiding behind it. But then also, like, as the person who's going through it, you're kind of like, yeah, like, I'm not lying. Like, why are you, I don't know, just an interesting line, and definitely interesting towards the end of the song. Gives me a lot to think about as the song winds down. So yeah, then the music continues and you get the frail state of mind repeated with like other parts of the song, and you like, there are some single words, you get like just mind repeated or state or fragile a couple times in there, and like it's just, again, you just get these like sounds and these like noises and these words, and I think it's really great because there's a lot to think about in this song, and it kind of creates this mind space where you're like, oh yeah, like minds are not just clear cut one word, one lyric at a time. It's like you get these like other things that are contributing to it, and it can be messy sometimes in your head. So I really like that they kind of created that space and made it pretty consistent with, I think, how a lot of people's minds function sometimes. So I really like that touch. And then there's like this musical outro, which is similar to the beginning. And so then kind of like the song doesn't really necessarily end. So I'm interested to know once the album comes out, if it is going to go into the next song. That's what it seems like based on just the outro. But yeah, the music definitely fades and it gets simpler. But I wonder if it will go into the next song, because that's kind of where it seems like it's going. But anyway, let me know if you like the song, if you've heard the song. Are you as excited about this new album? Hopefully, potentially, it will be more upbeat than their previous ones. But yeah, let me know what you think. Again, it's interesting because the music is upbeat, but the lyrics definitely are not. So I'm interested to see what's going to come next out from them. So I'm glad the song came out. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.